Hello, I'm Bob Scipio, the CEO of Skyland Analytics, and I thank the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine for allowing us to present on Skyland Analytics and our Skyland PIMS data platform for the cell and gene therapy and biopharma industry. Skyland Analytics was founded about 5 years ago with a group of us that have worked together for over 20 years in the data management space for the life science sector. We're based in Boulder, Colorado. We actually designed the very first manufacturing informatics software some 20 years ago. It was designed specifically for life science manufacturers, and we have taken our learnings over the past 2 decades to design the Skyland PIMS data platform for process and product information management. Skyland PIMS addresses several key challenges with which we have extensive experience. The first being supply chain visibility. Most drugs are made by CMOs and CDMO partners across global extended manufacturing networks, and we wanted to make sure that the PIMS platform could be utilized seamlessly by sponsor as well as CDMO teams. We wanted to make sure also that the platform met the FDA requirements for management of data and also provided transparency into the operations across the supply chain. And of course, the visibility that is set in the software is managed by our licensee customer, whether that be a drug sponsor or a CMO. The other issue that we wanted to address was the coherence of data from disparate data sources. So there's extensive use of spreadsheets early in a product life cycle. A lot of paper records are still relied upon. And then there's a variety of digital systems from a variety of proprietary process development and manufacturing vendors. The other issue faced in particular by precision medicine companies is this notion of a batch of one, an expensive batch designed for a particular patient, where people are looking at the quality of that therapeutic very carefully. There's unprecedented scrutiny now into manufacturing operations and the quality outcomes for that therapeutic now targeted to one specific patient. And we wanted to make sure that PIMS could contextualize key data, not just from traditional process and product systems, but also relevant aspects of the medical record and clinical trial endpoints. So all of that can be contextualized and analyzed in the PIMS data platform. And lastly, we wanted to make sure that we advance compliance with FDA rules. So PIMS is a CFR Part 11 compliant data system. There's never any coding involved. It's reliably validatable, and it can be utilized all during the product life cycle. So it can be adopted early in the product life cycle to get people off of spreadsheets and used all throughout GMP manufacturing as well. And we all know that the FDA has issued most of its warning letters over the last few years for data integrity. So we have intuitive workflows, no coding, and we improve the reliability and integrity of the data that's entered or connected via the system. The SEC is also starting to look at the sufficiency of investor disclosures related to outsourcing. And so systems that enhance the visibility into the supply chain will enhance compliance from an SEC standpoint as well. So this is a graphic to show where Skyland PIMS fits in the larger life science data ecosystem. There's a lot of leading vendors here from different sectors. Starting in the upper left in the cell and gene therapy space, you'll recognize a few of these names. Skyland PIMS can cohere data from these cell and gene therapy data providers, as well in the upper right, the clinical trial management vendors, the LIMS vendors in the lower right, and the traditional process and product development and manufacturing vendors in the lower left. So Skyland PIMS offers a coherence and aggregation layer where data from these systems can be connected to digitally. As I mentioned before, we designed this so that Skyland PIMS could be adopted early in the product life cycle. So with a deployment in under 2 hours, and intuitive workflows with no coding, you can move into a digital system very, very rapidly early in the product lifecycle. And then over time, as your IT landscape matures and other systems are added, PIMS can become the data hub and the coherence layer for those digital systems as well. The next slide shows some of the systems that might appear in a mature IT landscape, systems such as SCADA, historians such as OSI Pi, MES systems, EBR, of course, LIMS, ELNs, Kappa systems, ERP systems, etc. PIMS can connect to all of these systems and provide a common intuitive UX UI interface to the data that's there and is relevant for people to look at for process outcomes, quality analysis, the generation of reports, and as you'll see, analytics and charting. Some of our customers include those that are represented here on the slide and a few of their CMO partners that are using PIMS to share data throughout the supply chain. And we'd be happy to share after the conference customer references as you desire. I'd like to get into a few slides that show the Skyland PIMS application. The application is organized around several integrated modules that focus on recording of the batch data, target control limits and product specifications, also the management and quality analysis of raw materials, and in a recent release, we are providing analytics that forecast the drug expiry dates and shelf life. This is in the PIMS release 4.0, which was announced about a week ago. This is a view of the PIMS homepage, and it is here that users can customize the alerts that they'd like, the charts that they would like, and it comes to this homepage customized for the user along with company announcements or news feeds, general news feeds. And so this is completely determined by the user as to what they might want to see here. And on the next slide, you'll see an individual's chart, and you can see that this chart was generated out of a site in Cambridge, which was generating monoclonal antibodies. And you can see that there are other sites here along the left side of the chart. The data that comes from these sites can be pulled as needed by the user. And of course, our licensee can determine which users in the supply chain see which data. So there might be users that see everything coming out of Cambridge or a particular process at Cambridge, but any site in the manufacturing network can be accessed here and customized views can be prepared for the data coming out of those facilities. The data in PIMS is organized and configured around the process map or the process definition, and typically this is set up by those experts that are familiar with the manufacturing process, and it's set up using a point-and-click interface without any IT help required. It provides the process context and all of the parameter details for the subsequent creation of data entry forms or the digital retrieval forms that I'll show you in a moment. Here's a batch data entry form, and batch data can be entered manually, downloaded from a digital system, or imported from an Excel template. And these batch data entry forms and the process definition are typically set up within an afternoon. The batch data entry form can also have verification settings set up at the option of our user licensee, and this would improve the data integrity and the data reliability, but it is simply an option. So a range of values for each of these parameters can be set. The progress of any batch can be shared with any user in the system that is set by our licensee. So you can see batches that are rejected, that are pending, that have been approved already. And we allow for drill down into each batch where, for instance, batches that are pending, you can see the batch results, and you can also see documents and flowcharts and notes that may have been added along the way to provide more batch context and knowledge regarding that batch. So the system, while we would not call this a document management system or a quality management system per se, any document can be attached to the PIMS system, or links can be added where you can get to external knowledge libraries at the user's discretion and for their convenience. Specification limits and target control limits can be set and managed, changed over time within the PIMS system. And with our data cascade feature, as the valid dates come into play for these limits, you can automatically align these limits with the batch results to seamlessly generate segmented control charts. And here's an example of that. This control chart shows that although temperature results varied from batch to batch, all of the results were within the target limits, which had changed over time. So PIMS allows users to then add notes about why things changed, and this provides good context and knowledge for subsequent users looking at why there were changes over time to these specification limits and target control limits. Continuous tables can be set up and configured to capture time-based sample data for trending and golden batch analysis in the analytics module. Large volumes of instrument data can also be uploaded from files or uploaded directly from historians such as OSIPI. We have embedded in PIMS a variety of standard analytical tools as well as several proprietary analytical tools. Here's an example of an individuals chart, and you can see that we have embedded a number of standard analytical tools, and you have the ability to set the priorities for the different rules in Waco and Nelson analytics, which are provided and embedded in the PIMS system. Here's an example of a process capabilities chart. And we have X-bar and range charts as well. In addition to standard graphical representation, the statistical hypotheses tests determine if the data is normally distributed. And SPC charts are taken to the next level in the PIMS system by automatically integrating the specification and target control limits in place at the time that the batch was in process. And the drill down capability provides additional context about parameters and values and also outlier status as well. You have the ability to drill down, as you can see here, into details about outliers. Here's a continuous line plot for one parameter across a multitude of batches, and you can see here you can set the batch range, looking at here in this case the last 10 batches, but we can set that for the last 5 or the last 20, virtually unlimited capabilities there. And here's a continuous line plot that shows an overlay of a number of parameters, providing an intra-batch view even as the batch progresses. And our recently released raw materials module allows for more granular examination and management of raw materials and their effect on a process outcome. And in a sense, the traditional raw materials often have an effect on product quality. And now with precision medicine, patient samples can be analyzed in this raw material module as well. So tissue, blood samples, et cetera, anything that goes into that final therapeutic can be analyzed here on a much more granular level. So those are some of the views that you'll see in the PIMS software. We're happy to provide a demo of that at your convenience. And in summary, I just wanted to review again some of the challenges that we addressed and the benefits that we provide with our approach to data management in the space. So we're a cloud-native, cloud-based system deployed in just 2 hours, a very low total cost of ownership. We believe the lowest in the industry by customer feedback and customer reference. And we've addressed the substantial challenges presented by a supply chain that relies on partners that are external to the drug sponsor network. So there are no upcharges for PIMS for use by teams across companies. There's no upcharges for data views for different sites and the retrieval of data from different systems across sites. We made this so that you could establish a digital data spine very early in the product lifecycle, making it very easy to move off spreadsheets, and then use the PIMS system all throughout GMP manufacturing. We made it also so that you could cohere data from different data sources. We have extensive experience in data science and connectivity to a multitude of systems throughout our careers. And so this PIMS system works very well for attaching and connecting to data systems such as LIMS, historians, MES, EBR, and also uploading spreadsheets and of course entering where necessary data manually and having all of that cohered with a timestamp of all data entries by user, date, and of course the rationale for entries can be captured as well. There is no coding involved ever with the PIMS system. We provide very intuitive workflows, and of course we're Part 11 compliant, always validatable. In fact, one of our cell and gene therapy customers recently completed the validation effort on PIMS and said that it was the most seamless validation project they'd ever worked on. So thanks again for listening to our presentation on Skyland PIMS. We look forward to answering any questions you have, and I hope this is a great virtual conference for all of you. Thank you.